When you go to the deli store, don't buy the liverwurst. Don't buy the liverwurst. You don't know that song? Don't buy the livers first when you go to the deli store. Did you miss your hands there, Buck?
I missed my hands. Welcome to the Rowdy.com Big Three Bassmasters clapping around. Buzz Cutler got the questions.
Clap on, clap off.
Well, today's a pre-race show, Buck.
So what's your key to the race?
What's
your key to the race, Buck? What's your key?
This is your now.
I think the transitions are really important. When you go from the curves to the flats, that's really important. At least according to Carl Edwards. My key would be, I'm going to take 2 tires at the end.
Okay, that's
And
very strange.
and you know what you're going to do? You're going to lose.
I know.
You're going to lose.
But
There's a couple things here. First of all, obviously, we've had the spoiler on the car here now for 2 races, but this is the race that will really determine the effect of the spoiler, the big effect of the spoiler, because it's a downforce racetrack, right? The speeds are higher, and therefore the aerodynamic characteristics of the car, as far as creating grip, are more important. I think the leader is going to be okay, but I think back in the pack,
do you really
it's going
think
to be interesting.
Do you really believe the spoiler is that big a deal, that it's that big a change?
I
from the
do
wing?
believe it.
You
I do believe it because I think aerodynamics is really critical these days to winning races. I think at these downforce racetracks, and I think the spoiler is a big change. I agree with Jeff Burton in this regard. The spoiler is a big change. Some teams are going to figure out a way to deal with it. Some teams are not.
But I just don't think the spoiler is necessarily going to throw some giant wrinkle.
I
just don't think they're going to have a
gonna-
hard time with it. I think it's going to be basically the same.
It could look the same from the
I think it will.
outside. I think it probably will look similar from the outside, but I think it will be a challenge for the race teams because I think that turbulence pattern coming off the back of the car, the airflow coming off the back of the car, is going to be significantly different. And so I think it's going to be interesting to watch passing in this race. Will there be more passing? Will there be less passing? Will it look the same? Adjusting to the race car. Will the drivers get confused when they're trying to figure out what their car is doing in traffic and what the car needs? Will they be confused because the feel is different because of the spoiler? I just think there's a lot of variables. I'm not sure as a fan it's going to be easy for us to see that, but I still think it's important.
All right, well, that's key number 1. What is key number 2?
No, I do think key number 2 has got to be the speed. I mean, this is a really fast racetrack.
It's an incredibly fast racetrack. And the question is someone like Juan Pablo going to take that high line and really make it work? I think he could. I really think he could.
Yeah, I mean, I think the speed here isn't the same as at Atlanta because of the thing you mentioned, Buck, which is the transitions between
Or to be fair,
straightaways.
Carl Edwards mentioned it.
Yeah, Carl Edwards mentioned it.
In an exclusive interview.
On Rowdy earlier this week.
He specifically said the transitions are tough.
And because Atlanta is super fast, but when you think about Atlanta, you think about the track being so much corner and smooth. Here, you've got some bumps, especially between 1 and 2. I think 1 and 2, that's kind of the key end of the racetrack from what I've been hearing that you really need to master. But also, you can be lulled into a false sense of security here. You're going so fast, you could actually lose it in a hurry and wreck. And if you wreck here, it's probably going to hurt. So the transitions, the quick transitions from the straightaway to the corners and back again.
I think the transitions are where you're going to lose it, too. That's where you're going to wreck.
Probably more so than the straights.
Yeah, totally.
All right, let's talk about picks.
Big drivers.
Who you got, Buck?
Well, I mean, there's Matt Kenseth, there's Tony Stewart, there's Kurt Busch, there's Jeff Gordon.
There's actually 43
Yeah,
total guys. Who would you like to pick, though?
I'm going to go with Matt Kenseth.
Matt Kenseth has been really, I think, the most consistent guy here.
Yes.
He's finished second 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. Does have a win here. The guy with the most wins is Carl Edwards, but as
And
we
you're going to
point
go.
out,
You're going to go for Carl because you had a chat with him.
I picked him on our podcast, our weekend podcast, which is an extensive pre-race podcast
Rowdy
on Rowdy.com. Yes. But if you look at Carl's recent performance, it's actually worse than I thought. I mean, this guy has led exactly 0 laps this year.
How many?
0. And in the last 29 races, guys that have led more laps than Carl Edwards, Scott Speed, Casey Mears, Michael Waltrip, guys without rides, David Stremme.
So who are you picking, Bass?
Yeah, come on.
The most obvious pick to me would be Kurt Busch, just simply because he won in Atlanta, which is a fast mile-and-a-half racetrack, and he won the last time we were here, and he's going to be happy as hell to get away from those nutty short tracks, especially the last 2 weeks. which have
And
not been
he
good to
wants
him.
to prove that Jimmy Johnson is
So
not in his head.
are you picking Kurt Busch?
I'm going to pick Kurt Busch. I'll
right.
pick Kurt Busch. I got Carl on the podcast, so if one of those guys comes through, then
That's
I'll
double
be-
dipping.
All right, and I'm going to stick with my podcast pick of Clint Boyer. Richard Childress Racing, better than you think at this racetrack.
And they've been better on the mile and a half this year. So that will be, I think, one of the interesting stories is to see what those three cars are going to do. Because Jeff Burton won the first race here and was the first guy to win 2 races here. So this is a good track for him, too.
Good to know.
Good to know, and great to be here with you again, once again, here today. Once
Again.
Again. Because you know what?
How many
Everything's
laps?
bigger in Texas.
Together again for the very first time.
And Carl
does
Edwards
that
has
mean?
led 0 laps?
This year?
0.
Yes.
Thank you for watching the Rowdy.com Big Three. Come back on Monday. We'll talk about what happened
In Texas.
at Texas Motor
It's
Speedway.
probably bigger than you expect.
What he said.
Rowdy.com. Say it like it is.
Say what like it is?
Rowdy.com.